Hi, my name is Christy Welch. I am running for state assembly in the 88th district, which is De Pere, Alloway, and Bellevue. And to tell you a bit about myself, I am a mom of two. I've got a 21-year-old son, 17-year-old daughter. In my most recent working life, I was an executive at a manufacturing company and was head of HR there for a while, had leadership roles in operations, and the hope and the dream is to take everything that I learned during that time and apply it to getting things done in the state legislature. I was partially motivated to run when Trump first won the election in 2016, and so things were kind of brewing in my head for a while there. And then when the Dobbs decision came out, then I officially decided to take a new path. Wasn't quite sure where to start, so I ended up jumping in with the Democratic Party of Brown County and then ran for chair and won that election in December of 22, and I'm actually still chair today. And then, as we all know, we got Janet Protasiewicz elected, and the maps changed, and then I found myself in a district that needed a candidate. And so running for office is the next step down this path.
Okay, first question. Most people agree that the aging Green Bay and Waupun prisons must be closed. Would you support these closures without building a new prison? Please explain.
So this is one of those rare situations where there is bipartisan agreement that those facilities need to close. They are both extremely old, built in the 1800s. They're both overcrowded, understaffed, and this has led to inhumane conditions, frequent lockdowns, and tragically multiple deaths. The state has a duty to provide humane treatment and safety to both inmates and staff, and we're clearly not successful at this point in time. To solve this issue, it's a pretty big issue, and I think it's going to take a multifaceted approach. But I want to throw out some numbers for us to consider when we look at how to solve this problem. When we look at our neighbor in Minnesota, we have very similar population sizes, but Wisconsin has a much higher incarceration rate. Today in Wisconsin, we have 22,000 people incarcerated. Minnesota has 8,000. Together, the Green Bay and Waupun facilities house 2,000 people, and there are 5,000 people throughout the state that are incarcerated for what's known as crimeless revocations, which means technical violations of parole. So I will stop there because I ran out of time, but I'll expand on that one a little more later.
Okay, second question. The current lack of affordable housing is a huge issue for so many families. What are your thoughts regarding the recipients of rental vouchers being a protected class and imposing regulations on landlords in regards to how much they're able to charge for monthly rent? Other states put caps on how much landlords are allowed to charge. Would you be in support of either of these changes?
So I think we all know that affordable housing is a critical issue, not just in Wisconsin, but throughout the country. And we need to look at all options to ensure that people are able to afford a safe place to live. Now, there's different ways to go about solving this, but designating rental voucher recipients as a protected class does make sense, so that this can, people can't be discriminated against based on the limited amount of income that they're able to bring in. As for rent control, I think that we need to really look at how this has impacted other states. There can be unintended consequences there. Rent caps could provide immediate relief, but we need to make sure that we don't have the consequences of discouraging landlords from maintaining their properties or from developing new housing. I'm definitely open to policies that protect tenants and promote affordable housing, but we need to make sure that the short-term goals that we're looking for don't jeopardize the long-term health of our housing market.
Excellent. Third question is, we believe that democracy works best when citizens can interact with their elected representatives between elections. If elected, how do you plan to remain engaged?
I love this question. I can't wait to get to this part. So staying engaged with people that I represent is very important to me. When I'm elected, I plan to hold regular town halls. We can do this both in person and virtually, and make it really easy for people to come forward and share their concerns and ideas. I'll also have open office hours, make sure that my team is accessible and responsive via email and phone. Like a lot of representatives, I'll use social media to keep people informed about what's happening in the state legislature and invite their feedback, questions, all that. I believe in being approachable and transparent, and I want to hear from people not just during campaign season, but throughout my entire term.
Excellent. Question 4. What is your position on the current reproductive health laws in Wisconsin, and what, if anything, would you change?
Well, like I mentioned in my intro, the Dobbs decision is a big reason why I decided to run for office and get more involved politically. So I do feel very strongly that we need to restore reproductive rights in Wisconsin. Currently, there are a limited number of clinics in the state that can provide abortions, and they are located in only 3 cities, Milwaukee, Madison, and Sheboygan. And that means that many women, if they're in rural parts of the state, they need to drive many hours one way to get the care they need, and that is just not acceptable. When the Dobbs decision came out and the 1849 ban went into effect, we basically went into a period where abortion was extremely hard to get. And then we had a lower court ruling that came out, and that not every provider in the state feels comfortable providing abortions under that ruling. So women in the state are feeling a little bit unsure about where things stand today and where they're going to be in the future. They need to know that their right to an abortion will not be infringed on, and enshrining abortion rights and protecting the right to birth control and IVF will be some of my top priorities upon entering the legislature.
Excellent. Question 5. What is your position on school vouchers in Wisconsin?
So I am a very strong believer in public education. This is something I talk about passionately at the doors. Now, for the past 12 years, the folks currently serving in the legislature have failed to vote in a way that keeps up with inflation to make sure that our schools are fully funded. And then the voucher system takes those already limited financial resources and redirects them to private schools that lack accountability. They don't have to meet the same educational standards as our public schools. And the original intent of vouchers was to give families a choice if they were not happy with their current school. But there are a lot of people, a lot of kids that never attended a public school. They've been in private school for their whole education, and it's an abuse of the system. I very firmly believe that taxpayer money must be used to fully fund public education to ensure the highest quality of education is given to our students, and it should not be used to fund private school education.
Then our final question, what do you think about the fairness and integrity of Wisconsin elections, and what changes, if any, would you propose?
I believe Wisconsin elections are fair and secure. Our election officials work very hard to ensure that every eligible vote is counted, and there is absolutely no evidence of widespread fraud. If I come across a person that expresses doubts about the integrity of our system, I always encourage them to sign up to be a poll observer. And that's something anyone can do. And when you're a poll observer, you get to see, you're right in there, seeing the whole process start to finish. You can ask questions, and it's interesting, all the checks and double checks that the process have, which is what makes our voting process so secure. Now, at the same time, I do think we should be looking for ways to make voting more accessible, like expanding early voting, in state, drop boxes, mail-in voting. I strongly oppose any efforts to make voting harder, like stricter voter ID laws, which disproportionately affect marginalized communities. Our democracy works best when more people can participate, and I will fight to protect and expand voting rights in Wisconsin.
Excellent. Now, did you want to return to the first question to finish that
Yes,
up with
there was a
your
little
remaining
bit
time?
more I wanted to say there. So we talked about how Wisconsin and Minnesota have very similar populations, but Wisconsin has 22,000 people currently incarcerated. Minnesota has 8,000. There are 5,000 people that are incarcerated for crimeless revocations, which means a technical violation of parole. The Green Bay and Waupun facilities house 2,000 inmates together, and a new prison would cost, the estimates are $500 million, and it would take 4 to 5 years. So I think when you look at all those stats, you can see that there is a path to safely and effectively reduce our prison population without needing to build another expensive facility.
Excellent. Anything else?
No, I think that's good. Thank you very much to the League of Women Voters and Joshua for putting this together. And I hope, if you're watching this, I hope to earn your vote.